And welcome everybody. This is Sherman Ray, and this is Godstream News for a Thursday, June 26th. We want to welcome you all to the broadcast this morning. We've got a lot of stuff on tap today, folks. We want to make sure we get right to it. But before we do that, we'd like to encourage you folks to subscribe to our YouTube channel, that you're able to get all the news and updates at any moment that we do those updates. We'd love to make sure you get that. So just hit that subscribe button and you will be informed every single time. So our first article we want to talk about is we want to talk about the Supreme Court, folks. The Supreme Court is looking like they're poised to allow emergency abortions in Idaho. And this is a very interesting article that we that is out of the Associated Press. The Supreme Court appears poised to allow emergency abortions in Idaho when a pregnant patient's health is at serious risk, according to Bloomberg News, which said a copy of the opinion briefly posted Wednesday on the court's website. Now, this was probably a mistake. I believe it was actually a mistake that this happened. The document suggested the court will conclude that it should not have gotten involved in the case so quickly and will reinstate a court order that has allowed hospitals in the state to perform emergency abortions to protect a pregnant patient's health, Bloomberg said. The document was quickly removed from the website. And as we were saying, I believe that this was actually a mistake, that this article was actually posted on the Supreme Court's website. Now, we know that over the years, the Supreme Court has had real problems with getting involved in any kind of states' rights or questions with the abortion issue. So for them to issue this order is probably going to be something that is going to stick in the craw of a lot of people who hope that what would happen with the Supreme Court, that they would side on the conservative wing of the court and try to protect a baby no matter what. And so that's going to be a very, very interesting outcome when it finally does come out. Many of you know what's coming up next, folks. The Supreme Court, most Americans are going to be watching the presidential debate between Donald Trump and Joe Biden. And this is going to probably be one of the biggest stories that we're going to see for some time because it means so much for the country. I've been watching stories about this lately that they're talking about, and this is another story by this Associated Press, that most U.S. adults plan to watch the presidential debate. I still have the Supreme Court on my mind, between President Joe Biden and former President Donald Trump, according to a new poll. Both men remain broadly unpopular as they prepare to face off for the first time since 2020. And although Trump, the presumptive Republican nominee, maintains a modest enthusiasm advantage with his base compared to Biden, the Democrat incumbent, this is going to be an amazing race. Now, some analysts have said that not only is Joe Biden in preparation for the debate right now, but he has been in preparation all week long. He took a week off and is using a movie theater and an airplane hangar to prepare for his presidential debate. Now, this is a very we've got to start looking at this even more as Christians and as people who believe that this country is moving either in a positive direction or maybe even a negative direction. But the thing that we do know is that when you go to the grocery stores, things are more expensive. When you try to buy a house, if you could even afford to buy a house, it's going to be pretty hard. That when President Biden assumed office, things were much different than what they are now. The rate of inflation when President Biden took office was a little over 1%. Now it is it went up to as high as 9%. Now it's down to 3%. So, which means that it's still high. It's twice as much as what it was when he got into office. And we have a story coming up later that's going to probably highlight this even more about what are the similarities? What are the changes or the things that make these two gentlemen different? And that is going to be on the it's going to be on the ballot. It really is, because we can't continue to go this way. As one person said on Fox News yesterday, it was Jesse Waters. He said that the progressive plan is almost fully implemented, and if they get into office again for another 4 years, America may not survive. We've lost our sovereignty in our border. We've lost our edge militarily. We've done all these things that have not been positive for the country, and now Democrats are saying, give us 4 more years. Just give us 4 more years, because we're not done yet. And maybe that's the problem. We need to get them out because they're almost done here. Many of you remember this gentleman right here. This is Evan Gershkovich. And Evan has been in a Russian jail for, gosh, it seems like forever. There's a secret trial that's going on right now. It's in a place in Russia I cannot even, Yekaterinburg, Russia. This is a story from Reuters. U.S. journalist Evan Gershkovich went on trial behind closed doors on Wednesday in the Russian city of Yekaterinburg. I can't say the word. I'm sorry about that. Where he faces charges of espionage and a likely sentence of up to 20 years in prison. Prosecutors say the Wall Street Journal reporter gathered secret information on the orders of the U.S. Central Intelligence Agency, or the CIA, about a company that manufactures tanks for Russia's war on Ukraine. Gershkovich, his newspaper, and the U.S. government all reject the allegations and say that he was just doing his job as a reporter accredited by the foreign ministry to work in Russia. So we know what happened here, folks. One of the things we don't understand is why Gershkovich, Evan, has been held for so long. This has been a story that we've been watching for the last couple of years, and why the Russians have not allowed this reporter, because he is a reporter, he's a reporter for the Wall Street Journal, and why he has not been able to get back into the United States, why he's not been released. We thought that at some point, kind of like just happened about a year ago, when we had a basketball player, female basketball player for the WNBA. She went over there. She was found with marijuana and marijuana paraphernalia in her luggage, and the Russians held her, and they said, "Oh no, you're a drug dealer," and so there was a prisoner swap, and we got back. Her name is Briner. Gosh, I forgot her last name now. Her first name. But Brittany Griner is her name. She was not only released, but when we traded one of the high-level arms dealers for her, and it just didn't seem right that we would have an innocent person be held by Russia, and then we have to give them a criminal in return for her. And that's kind of the scary part about this thing. We want to encourage you folks that if you are still watching the broadcast, that you subscribe to our channel, that we've got so many cool things that we'd like to have and put in your hands all the time. And if you subscribe to our channel, then guess what? You will actually be able to get an update all the time. So hit that subscribe button, and every time that we have an update, you will be notified that we are up, that we put it up. So just subscribe to our YouTube channel. We really appreciate that. Our next story is about the explosion of anti-Semitism in the United States. This is one of those crazy things that we see happening in America, and who would have thunk that this would have happened in America, where we have an explosion of anti-Semitism. Religious freedom is still not respected for millions of people around the world, the Secretary of State Anthony Blinken said at a news brief. This is not just in the Middle East, folks. This is happening in the United States. The U.S. State Department's 2023 report on international religious freedom, released Wednesday, documented a widespread uptick in anti-Semitism in every corner of the globe, with a significant increase in reported incidents after October 7th. And many of you know what happened October 7th. October 7th, the Hamas sent some of their forces into an unguarded area of Israel and killed over 1,200 people. They took women, children, hostages. They raped women. They pillaged and looted kibbutzes all over that area. And to this day, there's still about 120, upwards of 120 hostages that are still being kept in Gaza. Over the last few months, the IDF has been going after these Hamas terrorists who are the political arm of the Palestinian area of Israel. And now the world has been going after Israel because Israel is trying to wipe out Hamas, who's basically their next door neighbor living in Gaza. So from the United States, from the United Kingdom to Canada, Brazil to Italy and France, hate crimes between October 7th and the year's end increased significantly from the same period in 2022. We've got a related story to this coming up in a little bit. But the Bible says something very interesting about this. It says that in the end days, we're going to see an alignment of nations that are going to come after Israel. And is this what we're seeing right now? Because we're seeing an uptick, not just a little uptick, a major uptick, especially here in of all places, the United States of America. This is the scariest part about it. That you would think that in America that you wouldn't have this kind of fomenting of anger and people just hating, but it's true. We've seen it's just ridiculous. We're going to talk about this a little later in another story, but we've got to pray for the peace of Jerusalem. We've got to pray that there isn't a continued violence against God's people. I don't know if most people get it yet, but they will get it, that there's something horribly wrong in America, and we've got to get this under control. Janet Yellen is in the news today, you guys. This is we said we were going to bring a story about this, but Janet Yellen, who's a millionaire, she's a millionaire Treasury Secretary. She gives an out-of-touch response to skyrocketing grocery prices. Now, this is interesting. She was asked a question at a round table, and when she was asked the question about inflation under the President Biden, she insisted that when she goes to the store, and which she does every week, that there isn't skyrocketing prices at the grocery stores. And this is interesting. Yes, for most millionaires, for most people who don't worry about every dollar that they spend, of course those prices are just fine. They're a little more than they like to spend, but they are. But in her case, she says, "Oh no, things are fine," and so reports are now that she is just out of touch. The same thing with President Biden. There was a question asked to one of his field operatives just recently, and they said, "Hey, what's going on with the election? Is this going to be? Is the president going to talk about inflation?" And what was surprising in this was that the answer that was given wasn't that the president is worried about inflation so much for the economy. He's saying, "Oh yeah, everything's just fine." What he's worried, but the thing he left out was that he never considered the people. There are real people who spend real money day and night and day, and many of them cannot afford food and drugs. They cannot afford food and putting gas in their car. They can't afford food and the mortgage that they're having to pay, if they're able to even do that. arguably, folks, this is why there's such this urgency to get another regime in, whether that be the Republican Party or that be someone else, is because our nation is spiraling out of control. When you cannot go to the store and just buy a carton of milk because you'd have to take out a loan. I'm being very facetious about it, but it's very urgent that way. It's a very real thing, where nowadays kids who normally would buy a home, their first home in their 20s, may never be able to buy a home, and that's real. In the words of President Biden, I'm not being hyperbolic. This is not hyperbole. This is reality. When people are saying, well, Mom and Dad, I would love to move out and get my own apartment, but I can't afford a place to live because a one-bedroom apartment now on average is $2,500 a month. This is getting to the point where if we don't turn the world back around, if we don't turn the ship back around and start lowering the prices of things, we don't start lowering fuel costs, if we don't start lowering the price of everyday products, people who are on the fringes will become our new third, fourth class citizens, and that's the scary part about it. And this is not hyperbole. That's why most people are going to be watching the debate. They'll be watching the debate in a couple of days, or excuse me, on Thursday. That'll be tomorrow. And when they do that, they're going to be sitting on pins and needles. The Biden administration is going to be saying something very interesting. What they're going to be saying is that we should give them 4 more years. Just give us a little more time. Just it's our plans have not been implemented yet. Just give us more time. That is not going to fly, folks. Most of us do not have more time. We just don't have more time to allow yet another policy to be implemented. So this is important. This kind of goes along with another story that we don't have on our queue here, but I'm going to interject it now. The Title IX restrictions. Title IX, many of you know what that is. It was a law initiated to encourage and to allow and to make room for women in sports, to protect women in sports, and how it has benefited women for decades, or I shouldn't say decades, but it's been a long time. Well, now that has been based, at least in the last 4 years, that has been really been encroached upon by the new woke movement, by this transgender thought in America, where you have men who are dressing up like women and identifying, quote unquote, identifying as women, who are participating and been allowed and fighting for their right to participate in women's sports. There was a gentleman by the name of, forgot his name now. We won't even remember his name. He's a swimmer, and what he's done is he's basically broken all the women's records collegiately, and he wanted to swim for the U.S. Olympics team in the women's competition, and the U.S. Olympic Commission said, no, that you're not going to do this. Well, the Biden administration, in an unprecedented move, has tried to push for men being able to be in women's sports. Now this is, as you could understand, has not only freaked women out, but it is so tone deaf on what women want in America. Women only want equality in America. They just want an equal footing, just like in civil rights. Black folks don't want to be put ahead of the line. We just want the surface to be leveled, so everything to be leveled for there to be equal competition. Women just want to be able to compete against women. They're not asking for the Taj Mahal for anything like that. But the Biden administration is saying, no, we don't care what you want, women. We're going to allow men to come into your bathrooms. We're going to have men watch you change your clothes. We're going to have men who are dressed as women do whatever they want around you, and you're just going to have to take it. I don't know about you. I've got 3 daughters, And I can't imagine that my daughters would ever be subjected to such barbarity, such tone deafness by a White House who says that they are standing up for women's rights. Now they'll fight to kill a baby and call it women's reproductive rights, but they won't fight for women to be able to have sports that they can feel is just for women. That to me is what they're doing is they're saying, women, we don't really care about you. All we care about is a political ideology, and this political ideology has gone swinging way to the left. Not just to the left, but it's gone to the radical left. There is no center anymore of the Democrat Party. It is completely left-wing. And Joe Biden, who is the head of the Democrat Party, is standing there just watching that ship just continue left. Now, here's how we know that Joe Biden is not at the wheel. He's asleep at the wheel, but he's not even at the wheel. He's not even in the car. Joe Biden, we believe in our heart of hearts, is probably a fairly simple-minded guy, but that's why they voted for him to be the Democrat president, because he's a useful idiot. I know it was very harsh, but you could tell that Donald Trump was the head of the Republican Party because of the way things were being implemented. He was pushing things through. I mean, he went out the first week that he was in office, and this is a great example. Air Force One, built by Boeing Corporation. Donald Trump went to Boeing and he goes, "We're not paying $2 million or $2 billion for this jet. You're going to have to cut it in half." And Boeing goes, "Well, wait a minute. We've been doing this for years." He goes, "Well, you're not doing it anymore. This plane does not cost this much, and we are not paying this. And if you don't like it, you can forget it." And what did Boeing do? Well, Boeing got pissed off, but they lowered the price of that jet. And that's what he did over and over and over again. He said, "We're going to do this. We're going to do that." And you could see it was very Trumpish, whereas Joe Biden has gone left of what he's ever said he was going to do. He said he was a Christian. He was a Catholic. Well, most Catholics, I would say, do not believe in abortion. And Joe Biden has not only become an abortion president, he's become the abortion president. And that's the scary part about it. I know I can go off on a tangent here. That's why we need a longer show. But this just gets you. It really does. Many of you remember this guy right here. This guy right here was on a New York subway. And what he did is he got in front of a New York subway and he told the passengers on there, he said, "Are there any Zionists on this train? Any Zionists on this subway train?" And fear and intimidated all of the riders on the bus. Well, this article is out of the New York Post, and it says that this gentleman was arrested. His name is Anas Saleh. He's 24, of Staten Island. He turned himself in with his attorney around 9:30 in the morning after the NYPD released a wanted poster of his face splashed across it in the wake of the hate-filled incident at Manhattan's Union Square station. He was charged with attempted coercion and released with a desk appearance ticket, authorities said. Now, I can't believe they let this guy go. Yeah, I cannot believe they actually let this guy go on his own because he not only terrorized people, but he had a squad of people around him who put the fear of God in all these people. And so they said, "Okay, well, you're being charged, but we're going to let you go." And that to me is scary. So we hope that justice is served. And once again, it goes back to what we were talking about before, that anti-Semitism has been predicted in the Bible. It was prophesied in the Bible. And now we have these crazy people in the middle of one of the most populous cities on the planet, New York City, screaming and yelling about anti-Semitism. There's more Jews in New York City than probably is in Israel, in all of Israel. And so we got to check that. Let's check that, folks. Let's make sure we're correct on that. But for somebody to stand up in the middle of a subway and scream and yell, "Hey, are there any Jews here? Are there any Jews here?" is crazy. Wow. Hey, this is Sherman Ray, and this is the Godstream News channel, our Godstream News show. And we want to encourage you folks to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Yes, subscribe to our YouTube channel and let us know that you love what we're doing. We really encourage you to do that, because the more you let us know that you love us, the more we'll do of this. We've got some other shows that we're planning to have here, and we think that you will love them. We really do. But the only way you're going to know about them, you subscribe to our YouTube channel, and they will let you know each and every time that it comes up. So do that right now. And if you could, just go to our website. Go to Godstream.org. That's Godstream.org, and you can check out our full-length shows, videos, music, sermons, the whole thing. Okay, we're almost done here. Oh my gosh, I can't believe this time is flying so quick. Just a couple more stories to talk to you about. This organization is called the CRC, and this is probably one of the I don't know if you. Well, let's let you make your decision up on it. 2 years ago, the Christian Reformed Church in North America, or the CRC, clarified its stance against homosexuality. Last week, the denomination clarified its expectations of churches whose LGBTQ affirming teachings contradict that stance. Okay, and this is really interesting. This is a story out of the Christianity Today. At its 2024 synod, the CRC instructed affirming congregations to repent, to retract any divergent public statements, and comply with the denomination's beliefs on sexuality going forward. Here's the statement. Pastors, elders, and deacons at affected churches have been placed on a limited suspension. The move was recommended by an advisory board committee and approved by synod delegates in a 134 to 50 vote last Thursday. Many saw the discipline. Excuse me, something was crawling on my leg. Many saw the discipline as an opportunity to restore affirming churches back into compliance with CRC teachings and confessions, which hold that all same-sex sexual activity is sinful. Now, that's as affirming as you can get. So what the church is saying that, look, we don't condone this. We've never condoned this. And if you as a church continue to do this, we're probably going to pull your chain. And that is something that the church needs to continue to do. This is not something that can be negotiable. You can't negotiate with this thing. The church over the last decade or so has slid to the right, to the left, more and more and more. You've got whole denominations, who've had to leave their mother church or their mother denomination for this reason, because the Bible talks about acts which are abominations. And it's not talking about the people, that the Lord doesn't love the people. What he's saying is that these acts are abominable. And homosexuality is one of those. It's not that we hate, that Christians should ever hate homosexuals. Love homosexuals. You hate the homosexuality, though. Okay? In our last story, this lady, Cori Bush. Cori Bush is on the chopping block. Many of you heard about Jamal Bowman yesterday. He was the former congressional representative in New York's district up there. He lost in the primary to one of the opposition leaders, and he lost for one reason. Well, one is because he didn't do what he's an anti-Semite, he's a bigot, and members of the squad who Cori Bush is a part of is on the chopping block too, and they're believing that Cori Bush, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, Jamal, and a few others who are on the fringe left of the progressive left, they call them the squad, could be primaried. Now, this is not a little thing. This is big, that they could be primaried because they not only are they bigots, but they're pushing an an Israel agenda that cannot be tolerated in America. The winner of the Jamal Bowman race gave his victory speech, and he says, "I don't care who you are. I don't care if you're gay, lesbian. I don't care if you have blue hair or blonde eyes. I will support you and I will represent you." Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Rashida Tlaib, those folks, you may have a problem with them. So you've got to keep an eye on these folks. Before we leave, folks, I want to remind you once again, if you are watching the show, you love this show, to go ahead and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Let everyone know that Godstream News is on. We'll come on. We'll be on every day, and we're going to be expanding this to include even more stories that, from a Christian perspective, that affect you, and that will affect you. We want to encourage you. Tomorrow we'll actually have a show ahead of the presidential debate to maybe lay the groundwork for it. But we hope that you're able to join us for that show, which will be tomorrow, probably about 9 o'clock in the morning Pacific Standard Time. But we hope that you're able to join us during that time. So this has been Sherman Ray for Godstream News. We want to thank you once again for being a part of the broadcast. And we will see you again tomorrow, folks. We're so excited about that. And we'll see you again tomorrow. Bye-bye.